Jada Pinkett Smith. Worthy. Abby White writes in The Hollywood Reporter, Jada Pinkett Smith talks future of red table talk and criticism around speaking openly about her private life. You will be familiar, if you have accessed my various videos about Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith, how the actress believes that she is entitled to tell everybody about what goes on in her life. She thinks that it is important to do so. This is because, through her narcissist mindset, she has no due regard for her children or her spouse or the ears of anybody who has to listen to what she has to say. She puts it all out there, believing, through her warped worldview, that this is healthy, that this is appropriate. She does so because her narcissism compels her to seek an audience so that it can both be controlled and have fuel drawn from it. Furthermore, it necessitates such an interaction for the purposes of ensuring that she acquires character traits elsewhere when she's not shagging her son's friends, and to gain those residual benefits. So, for example, in Parts Passim, she found it appropriate to film Will Smith whilst he was trying to make himself some lunch, and she was banging on about some kind of preachy way of life, and he essentially was saying, "Get out of my face," and she then starts talking to a third person who isn't even there, a supposed relationship advisor, about what she has to put up with. She doesn't care about the boundary between her and Smith. She subconsciously views him as an extension of her, and that means anything and everything about him can be appropriated and utilized. She doesn't see if there's anything wrong about talking about her sex life with her daughter and her mother on Red Table Talk, while many other people will be thinking, do we really have to hear this? Because her narcissism is such that she doesn't recognize the boundaries, that she has no emotional empathy for those that have been subjected to what she has to say. And thus, of course, when people criticize her for this open approach, that amounts to a threat to control, and she has to deal with it. Jada Pinkett Smith is promising viewers they haven't seen the last of Red Table Talk. I don't think that's a promise, it's a threat, isn't it? Despite the shuttering of Facebook Watch earlier this year. The actress, producer, mother, and host revealed the news to people in a new interview about her anticipated memoir, Worthy. Worthy is out on October the 17th with Day Street Books, an imprint of the William Morrow Group at HarperCollins Publishers. It's definitely coming back. We've had a couple of platforms reach out to us, and we have some interesting avenues that we're looking at now, she said. Naturally, the loss of that platform will have wounded her. Her narcissism will have dealt with it at the time, but she is symptomatic of the nature of social media. As I've told you before, originally it was social networking, enabling you to keep in touch with people that you actually had met through real life. And then it became a device by which strangers hooked up with strangers, and then that people who didn't have anything meaningful to say suddenly believed that they had something meaningful to say, and thus they engaged in pumping out the slops of their delinquent minds over the internet. It's a similar situation with Jada Pinkett Smith. Just because the platform exists doesn't mean that she has to fill it with her meanderings and musings. But she believes that she does, because in a way that is similar to Harry's wife, she believes that what she has to say is groundbreaking, important, and fundamental. That you need to know what's on her mind because it's central to the well-being of the human race. Published on Thursday, the conversation also saw Pinkett Smith address the public criticism she's increasingly faced over the years for her, along with husband Will and children Jaden and Willow, being so open about elements of her family's life on the series and beyond. So many people feel, because of my talk show Red Table Talk, that they know my journey. And they really don't, she told the magazine. That demonstrates her haughty dismissiveness, that she tells you so much about her life. Therefore, it is not an unfair assumption to make that many people might well think, yes, I know a lot about Jada Pinkett Smith, but she turns around and says, no, you don't. There's been so much about my journey, such pretentious reference to her life, that I haven't really been able to share on a format like RTT. Pinkett Smith went on to say that everything will be covered in the book, while addressing critics of her and Will Smith's choices, nullification of threat to control, about openly discussing elements of their marriage, parenting choices, and more. In the same way that Harry's wife used funding freedom and finding dollars to try and settle scores and archetypes, Jada Pinkett Smith is doing the same. Although they're different subschools of narcissist, Jada Pinkett Smith is behaving in this way because she's using it as a platform to extend her grandiosity, draw in fuel, and nullify threats to control that have been posed with regard to criticism of her marriage and the parenting choices. For the actress and producer, those who aren't interested in learning more don't need to know, and this is not a book for them, dismissiveness. That's the beauty of it. It just so happens that there's some moments that a lot of people are aware of that I'll be able to break down. In regards to that self-reclamation, she said of those who argue she and her family overshare, lack of boundary recognition. For those who are not interested, the beauty is they don't have to get the book, but for those who are, the book will be available. Describing Worthy as an adventure, a search for love and self-worth, Pinkett Smith said the book will give her an opportunity to address what she is and isn't to blame shifting, nullification of threat to control, for when it comes to the misunderstandings about her family floating around. Recently, the discussion has increased around Jaden Smith's reveal at the Psychedelic Science Conference in Denver that she was first to use psychedelics, something she revealed on Red Table Talk, see parts passing, before other members of her family followed suit. It also rose up around the 2022 Oscars when fellow actor and husband Smith slapped Chris Rock on stage during the televised ceremony after the selective outrage comedian delivered an unscripted joke about Pinkett Smith's shaved head, which is related to her alopecia. You escape the blame when you know that it's not your blame, right? And there's a narcissist speaking if I ever heard it. When there's misunderstanding, and when you know the truth, there's no self-judgment, grandiosity, self-righteousness. And if you have no self-judgment, then the judgment of others can't penetrate, she said. Nullification of threat to control. In the book, people will see that I have to be very accountable of the misunderstandings that are floating, but ultimately, I hope the book enhances someone's perspective of their own life. That is my greatest hope. Oh, so grandiose and sanctimonious. Read my book and it'll help you with the perspective of your own life. Yes, Jada Pinkett Smith with her usual word-salady grandiosity, and once again exhibiting her credentials as a narcissist. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.